Greetings, dear listeners. Before I dive into this story, a tale of quiet endurance, hidden betrayal, and the sweet moment when an old man finally chooses himself, I want to ask for your kindness. If this story moves you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps these voices be heard. And drop a comment telling me what city or country you're listening from tonight. It warms my heart to know we're all connected across the miles. Now, settle in. This one is long, raw, and honest. The key turned in the lock at exactly 6:47 p.m., and the house exhaled as if it had been holding its breath for weeks. I was sitting in my worn leather recliner, the one with the cracked armrest that my late wife Evelyn used to complain about, watching the evening news on low volume. The sound of roller bag wheels on hardwood announced his return before his voice did. "Dad, I'm back!" My son, Marcus, strode into the living room like a conquering hero, tanned the color of walnut, wearing mirrored sunglasses indoors, a new gold chain flashing against his open collar shirt. Behind him trailed the smell of airport, coconut sunscreen, and something expensive, probably the cologne he'd bought with my money. I didn't get up. I just muted the television and looked at him over the rim of my reading glasses. "Welcome home, son." He dropped his designer duffel with a theatrical thud, kicked off Italian loafers that probably cost more than my monthly medication, and grinned that wide, careless grin he'd perfected since college. "Vegas was insane, Dad. Absolutely insane. You should have seen the suite. Bellagio fountain view, private butler, the works. We hit the tables, saw Cirque, ate at that Gordon Ramsay place. Life-changing." I nodded slowly. "Sounds like you had a good time." "Good? Dad, it was legendary." He flopped onto the couch, stretching like a cat. "Anyway, I'm starving. Plain food was garbage. What have we got in the kitchen?" He was already on his feet again, heading toward the fridge before I could answer. That was Marcus, always moving, always taking. I stayed in my chair and listened to the familiar sounds, the slap of his bare feet on linoleum, the creak of the refrigerator door, the long pause. Then came the scream, not a manly yell, not a startled shout, a high, thin, almost girlish scream of pure horror that echoed through the house like a fire alarm. "Dad! Dad! What the hell is this?" I rose slowly, my knees don't forgive hurry anymore, and walked to the kitchen doorway. Marcus stood frozen in front of the open refrigerator, one hand still on the handle, the other pressed to his mouth. His tan had gone sickly underneath. His eyes were wide, fixed on the shelves as if he'd opened the gates of hell itself. The refrigerator was full, not just full, packed. Every shelf groaned under the weight of luxury I hadn't allowed myself in 30 years. Top shelf, 3 bottles of Macallan 25-year-old single malt, amber liquid glowing under the fridge light like liquid gold. Beside them, a wooden box of hand-rolled Cuban cohibas, Romeo and Julieta Churchills, the real ones, not the fakes tourists buy. Middle shelves, vacuum-sealed packs of Japanese A5 Wagyu ribeye, marbled like white lace, dry-aged prime rib roasts from Allen Brothers in Chicago, a whole smoked salmon still in its gold foil, jars of white Alba truffles floating in oil, blocks of aged Comté, and wheels of triple cream brie, a crate of fresh morels I'd ordered overnight from Oregon. Bottom drawer, black tins of Petrosan beluga caviar stacked like bricks of treasure. Beside them, jars of creme fraiche and a mother-of-pearl spoon set. Door shells, no ketchup, no cheap beer. Instead, chilled bottles of Krug Clos du Mesnil champagne, a few rare Burgundy whites, and a row of artisanal small-batch bourbons I'd never dared dream of tasting. And in the freezer, God bless the delivery man who'd wrestled it all in: filet mignon, lobster tails, foie gras torches, venison backstrap, and a box of handmade dark chocolate truffles dusted with 24-karat gold. Marcus turned to me slowly, his face twisted in disbelief and something darker, panic. "Dad, how? Where? How?" His voice cracked. "This stuff costs thousands, tens of thousands." I leaned against the doorframe, hands in my old cardigan. "Welcome home, son." "I was hungry, Marcus. You took my savings, left me with canned soup and a $5 bill. A man's gotta eat." He staggered back until his hips hit the kitchen island. But those watches, the war medals, Granddad's Purple Heart, the Rolex Submariner from 1968, the Patek Philippe you wore on your wedding day. You said those were for me, my inheritance. I nodded. I did say that. For 40 years I said that. Polished them every Sunday, kept them in the safe like holy relics, told myself, one day Marcus will have these. One day he'll understand what they mean. Marcus's eyes darted around the kitchen as if looking for escape routes. "You sold them?" Every last one. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a thick roll of hundreds held together with a rubber band. I tossed it lightly. It landed on the counter with a soft thud. Cash money, no loans, no credit, fair market value, negotiated hard by your old man who apparently still has a few brain cells left. He stared at the roll like it was radioactive. "You ate my future. You blew everything on booze and fancy meat." I opened the Macallan, the cork coming free with a soft pop that sounded like satisfaction. I poured 2 fingers into a crystal glass I'd bought just for this moment. "No, son, I ate my past. All those years I denied myself a decent steak because the watches are for Marcus. All those birthdays I bought you whatever gadget you wanted while I wore the same Timex until the band rotted. All those nights Evelyn and I argued because I wouldn't touch the principal. It's for the boy." I took a sip. The whiskey was smoke and honey and 40 years of patience finally rewarded. Marcus's hands were shaking now. "You're insane. This is dementia, financial incompetence. I'm calling Adult Protective Services. They'll reverse the sales, declare you unfit." I set the glass down gently. "Go ahead, call them, but you might want to read this first." I slid a manila folder across the island. Inside were the bills of sale, every watch, every medal, every coin, signed, notarized, with attached competency certificates from a doctor I'd seen the day after Marcus left, clean, ironclad. He flipped through the pages, face growing redder with each page. "You planned this," he hissed. "No," I said quietly, "you did." I walked to the junk drawer, the one where Evelyn used to stuff receipts and warranties, and pulled out a bright blue folder I'd found wedged behind the water heater 2 weeks ago. Cheap, glossy cover, smiling seniors on the front. Nevada State Senior Care Facility, Desert Oasis Campus. Inside, intake forms with my name already filled in, a draft durable power of attorney naming Marcus as agent, notes in his handwriting about declining cognition and unsafe living environment, a realtor's business card paperclipped to a listing for my house, our house, at 15% below market value for a quick sale. Marcus went very still. "That's not... I was just researching options in case you needed help later." "Later," I repeated, "like next month when you got back from living like a king on my savings." He didn't answer. I took another sip of whiskey. You were going to put me in that place, the one with the bleach smell and the shared bathrooms and the staff that steals pain pills, sell the house, keep the profit, visit me twice a year with a Walmart sweater and a guilty conscience. Tears, real ones this time, welled in his eyes. Dad, I would never. You already did. Silence stretched between us, thick as the cigar smoke I was about to enjoy. Finally, he found his voice again, small and pleading. Okay, I messed up. I got carried away in Vegas. The girls, the tables, I lost track. But we can fix this. Return what's left of the food and alcohol, sue the buyer if we have to. I'll move back in, take care of you. We're family. I laughed then, a real laugh, deep and free, the kind I hadn't felt since Evelyn was alive. No, son, you're moving out today. You can't kick me out. I'm on the deed. His voice rose again, defiance returning. You're not on the deed. Never were. Your mother and I talked about it 100 times, but we never got around to it. House is mine alone, and I changed the locks this morning while you were still sleeping off your red eye. I reached into my other pocket and held up his old key ring. The house key was missing. His face crumpled. Where am I supposed to go? There's a studio apartment listed downtown, 600 square feet, about what your monthly child support payment would have been if you'd ever acknowledged that little girl in Henderson. His mouth opened, closed. He had none I knew about that either. I walked to the pantry and pulled out the single duffel bag I'd packed for him. Clothes, laptop, toiletries, everything he'd left scattered around the house for years, now neatly contained. It's all here. Even the Rolex knockoff you bought on the strip. Figured you'd want to remember the trip. He stared at the bag like it was a coffin. I opened the back door. Evening air rolled in, cool and clean. Time to go, Marcus. He didn't move. I said, get out. Something in my voice, the same voice that once made Marines snap to attention in 1968, finally reached him. He picked up the duffel with trembling hands. You'll regret this, he muttered at the threshold. When you're old and alone and the money's gone. I'm already old, and for the first time in decades, I'm not alone. I've got 25 years Scotch for company, and tomorrow I'm flying first class to Scotland to tour the distilleries. After that, maybe Patagonia or Kyoto in cherry blossom season. I've got time and choices. He stepped onto the porch. I closed the door softly, turned the deadbolt. Through the frosted glass, I watched his silhouette slump, then shuffle away down the path. I returned to the kitchen, poured another finger of Macallan, and opened the humidor. The smell of cedar and tobacco rose like incense. I selected a Churchill, clipped it with the silver cutter that used to be part of the watch collection, and lit it slowly, savoring the ritual. The first draw was perfection, rich, complex, earned. I walked to the living room window and watched Marcus's figure disappear down the street under the sodium lamps. He didn't look back. I raised my glass to the empty room. To Evelyn, I said aloud. I'm sorry it took me so long. Then I sat in my recliner, cigar in one hand, whiskey in the other, and for the first time in years, I turned the television volume up, not to drown out silence, but to fill a house that finally belonged only to me. 3 months later, I'm writing this from a small stone cottage in the Scottish Highlands. The fire is crackling. Outside, mist clings to the hills like a secret. On the table beside me, a plate with the last of the wagyu I had flown over, because why not? A wedge of Stilton, and a glass of something rare the distillery master pulled out just for me. The watches are gone, the medals are gone, the guilt is gone. In their place, memories I'm making on my own terms, sunrises over glaciers, conversations with strangers who don't want anything from me, the taste of freedom at 78 years old. Marcus texts sometimes, apologies, pleas for money, photos of his cramped apartment and instant noodles. I don't reply. Some lessons can't be taught with words. And when I come home next spring, the house will be lighter. I've already arranged for the heavy furniture to go. Too many shadows. I'll keep the recliner, though, and the view from the window. Because some things are worth preserving, but only if they serve the person living, not the one waiting to inherit. That's the story, dear listeners. A story about a father who finally stopped saving tomorrow and started living today. What do you think? Was I too harsh? Should a parent always leave something behind, no matter how cruelly they've been treated? Or is there a moment when self-preservation becomes the only moral choice? Write your thoughts below. Have you ever had to draw that line with family? Could you have done what I did? Sold the sacred relics and feasted while the prodigal returned empty-handed? If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share. These tales matter. They remind us that it's never too late to choose ourselves. Until the next one, take care of your hearts, and maybe check your fridge tonight. You never know what treasures might be waiting. With warmth and a fine cigar, your storyteller.